All right. So I have a real treat for everyone tonight. I'm here with Suzanne, and Suzanne is actually the mom of one of my clients who got a fun invite with her peers and decided she wanted to do that instead, which I fully support, and that is indicative just of how far she's come. And
Absolutely.
but her mom, Suzanne, is here to share her story. So thank you so much,
Uh,
Suzanne, for being willing to do this.
my pleasure and honor, I have to say. I'm so excited that you
Good.
asked me to do this. And, it's been a long road and, we're coming out on the end with a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat and tears and many, many years of hardship. But, if we hadn't found you, then we wouldn't be where we are today. So
Yeah.
I want to thank you for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're my angel.
Oh, I love it. So sweet. Thank you.
It's true.
Well, maybe you can give just a little bit of background in terms of, what Gia has gone through in terms of her health, and kind of where things were at her rock bottom and everything you also just struggled with as a family, through her life.
Right, right. Yeah, because it is a family affair.
Yeah.
Have a child who's sick.
Hmm.
Because when your child is sick, that's it. That's all you care about. Looking, finding ways to make them better.
Hmm.
And sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a really long time, especially when it's things like you can't diagnose.
Yeah.
Nothing showing up on test results, nothing showing up with procedures, nothing's helping at all. And it's just a round and round struggle. Not
Yeah.
only with, having a sick child and feeling bad about that, but also navigating the healthcare system,
Hmm.
um, especially when they're a child, navigating school, friends,
Mm.
socializing, and just the isolation of it all is pretty debilitating.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gia was around, I think she was sixth grade, so she was around maybe 11 and started having just, GI problems. Her stomach didn't feel good, off and on, and, missing school. And she was a picky eater in the normally anyway,
Hmm.
and a little bit of a tough kid, it's her way or the highway type of thing.
Hmm.
So she struggled with some things, but nothing out of the ordinary. Loving family, sister, two parents, and the GI problems just started getting worse.
Yeah.
So, month after month, it would just be my stomach hurts. I don't feel good. And now she's having, all sorts of symptoms, abdominal pain, bloating, and it just kind of went on from there. And it's hard to remember that far back, but it was a progressive thing,
Hmm.
and lots of doctor's appointments, specialists trying to figure out what's going on with her procedures, labs, endoscopies, colonoscopies. And they just could never figure out what was wrong with her,
Hmm.
but she was always not feeling well. So, there's still something wrong. Like,
Yeah.
as a parent, there's something wrong with my child,
Yeah.
and you just keep advocating and keep going. So that's what we did. Day after day, week after week, month after month, um, and it never stopped. She never felt good. She would have like periods of intermission, here and there. She'd feel okay, but then again, she'd be down for months.
Yeah.
She'd have periods of, chest pain, hip pain. I mean, she had all sorts of things going on. Um, and it just progressed to the point where she actually lost, and had both of her legs were paralyzed. So she was having neurological symptoms on top of that,
Hmm.
headaches, vision issues, blackouts. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Anytime she got sick, she would be down for 3, 4 months. I mean, she hardly went to school, and we still had no answers.
Yeah.
That was the tough part. That's the real tough part about this is, you can't say, okay, you have a broken arm and we're going to fix it.
Hmm.
And when a child is crying, saying, why can't anybody help me? That's traumatizing, for the parent also.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, to deal with the school system, to advocate for your child, to go through the healthcare system, and really just advocate for your child, because really no one else is going to, unfortunately. And you'll
Yeah.
find that, I'm a registered nurse. I do pediatrics right now, and It's a fine line between trying to be a mom, trying to be the nurse.
Yeah.
That's a difficult part too, because it's like, Mom, you're a nurse. Why can't you figure this out?
Yeah.
You know, so that's heartbreaking, for a mom.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of work to try to get a kid who no one knows what's wrong with her, but she feels horrible, to make people around you understand why she can't go to school, or why she can't eat, or why she can't get out of bed, or why she can't feel her legs, or what. It's
Yeah.
very hard to be always trying to tell people what's going on, but everybody looks at her like she looks great. you
Right.
know she looks good, but no, the insides of her do not look good. If
Yeah.
we could x-ray machine to see what's going on, you would see there's something. She's not that kid. She's not crying in a corner. She wants to go to school. She wants to play softball. She
Yeah.
wants to be with her friends, and she
Hmm.
can't. Her body won't let her. So this went on for 7 years,
Yeah.
really. And, until I just pushed and pushed and pushed and found Jen by a miracle. And we started with you, I think, back in January,
Hmm.
just to reset her gut, because, as we know, whatever was going on with her has totally disrupted, her gut, and is causing all of these symptoms, and it's only getting worse.
Yeah.
That was a tough road, as Jen knows.
Yes.
She's a 16-year-old girl, and we're telling her, you can't eat carbs and sugar, and
I know
you
it's
have,
the hardest age to make these kinds of changes,
it's a
hands
very,
down. Yeah.
very difficult age. And but we got through a good, 3, 4, 5 months of
Hmm.
just really being diligent on the diet and some supplements, and finally figured out a couple months ago that she had a lot of compression for whatever reason, whether it's when she was born,
Hmm.
or whether she had some small little injuries. She has, a lot of neck issues and back issues, and she's with, a cervical specialist now, who is doing a lot of work on her fascia.
Hmm.
Um, and she's like a different person.
Mm.
It's like a different person that I haven't seen in 7 years,
Wow.
which is just makes me, I mean, the happiest person in the world,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
she's literally been sitting next to me for 7 years crying,
Yeah.
you know, and, the hundreds of appointments and the hundreds of procedures and all the things that she had to go through,
Yeah.
and finally, I feel like we have some answers.
Hmm.
And you could probably speak to more to, the compression of the neck and how that affects your nerves and how it affects your GI system. And then what
Yeah.
happens to the GI system once your GI system is in disarray. Um,
Hmm.
how, as we know, she, was just toxic,
Yeah.
and her bacteria was so overgrowing, and her leaky gut, and how that, caused neurological symptoms, and,
Hmm.
the whole host of other symptoms that she had. But I think that, we have a grasp on it now, which is like amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It really is. But, I did want to touch a point on, the caregiver.
Yeah.
It always think of, the person who's going through it, right? Which
Hmm.
is, of course, the number one priority. But, the family, the people around them, the caregivers, the support system, they go through a lot also.
Yeah.
Very difficult to try to help somebody that you feel like you can't help.
Yes.
Emotionally, physically, it's draining.
Yeah.
We pretty much call that like caregiver syndrome. And you don't
Yeah.
even realize it's happening to you.
Hmm.
I would lose like 20 pounds for no reason. Then I
Mm.
gained pounds for no reason. And
Yeah.
then I'd lose 20 pounds for no reason. Like, I couldn't keep myself even on an even keel, because every second of my day was researching and bringing her to appointments and trying to figure out, get her better. And I said, I'm not going to give up until that happens. But
Yeah.
it's very difficult on the family. Her sister, she's great. And she's more of a kid who kind of is, takes on her own thing. So it didn't seem to affect her that much. But, deep inside, it did affect her, because
Sure.
I was always with Gia. I was always taking care of her. And, I did did make time for my other daughter, Anna, and I did try to go in there every night and, just be with her and talk with her and make sure I was there for her. But a lot of time is taken, thinking about and caring for the individual that's, has an illness or a disorder that is very it's constant. It's
Yeah.
24/7,
Yeah.
So, higher levels of stress and feeling overwhelmed and constantly worried, constantly anxious, tired and fatigue and headaches and not sleeping and the sadness and the guilt and, problems
Yeah.
with time and trying to work and, the isolation and not to mention the financial strain
Oh,
that people
sure.
to, really, it's just a whole kind of big ball of chaos.
Yeah.
And, when you're in it, you don't even know how you're getting through the day.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And I'm really glad you're highlighting this because I think it really is overlooked so much. I think sometimes, I mean, it's hard enough, when you have a family member or a loved one that's sick at all, but I think some of the more common conditions, like cancer or dementia, like there are like structures and support groups out there, but when we're dealing with these really ambiguous, complicated, chronic illnesses that, we don't really understand fully, or certainly not in conventional medicine, like there's just not that understanding and support. And just like you were saying, trying to explain the situation, when it's like, well, she's got gut issues, but she's got neurological issues, but she's got fatigue. And I'm sure it just felt so stressful to try to navigate all of that.
Absolutely. And I can't imagine how much more stress on somebody who's not in the healthcare provision.
Right.
That they have sometimes I feel like, shoot, I probably know too much. So it's always kind of, but for the people who don't even know what questions to ask,
Yeah.
or they can't go to school, get in touch with the guidance counselor. Like, let's make a plan for that. There's so many aspects and so many kind of boxes that you need to be working on at all times that
Mm-hmm.
it's really tough to manage all of that and really, get people to understand, because like you said, no one really understands when there's no specific diagnosis.
Yeah.
No, it's not diabetes, it's not lupus, it's not
Yeah.
this, it's that. So what is it? Okay, well, if you don't know, I guess there's nothing. That's
Right.
kind of how people look at it. So that's an entirely, stressor, that another one that is really hard to say. My child doesn't feel good,
Right.
and she knows her body,
Yeah.
and no one wants to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really tough to leave doctor's appointments every time and have her just feel so just sad that no one's really willing to figure it out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think unfortunately, like we are getting to a place in kind of the health of our society where we are going to be seeing this more and more often and with younger and younger people, So I think Gia is a really good case study in like where conventional medicine is really falling down, that there are these, really ambiguous, unusual presentations of symptoms that are just as serious. I mean, like you said, she was like paralyzed for a while, right? Very, very serious, but that our current kind of diagnostic criteria like just can't quite capture.
Right, right. It's no one really knows about any of this,
Yeah.
and it's mind blowing to think that, all of these disorders and these diseases, and they start from somewhere,
Yeah.
but no one's looking to figure out where.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to treat symptoms. No one wants to figure out the root cause.
Yeah.
And there's a root cause to pretty much everything,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, I just wish that more people would be willing to kind of delve in a little bit deeper and grasp this type of, way of thinking. And
Yeah.
I think it's gonna take a long, long time, but I think it's even more important to catch these things early,
Yeah.
not when you're 20, 25, 30, and you're even more debilitated and even
Yeah.
harder to turn around. So
Yeah.
start, at the young age of teaching, educating and teaching on, the food that these kids are consuming, because they're full of toxins, preservatives, pesticides, and it's just ruining their bodies.
Mhm.
And it's tough, especially in a community where, is a lower income community.
Mm,
And I work for a lower income community, and it's hard to say, don't, you might want to stop pasta for a little bit, or you might want to try this, or start a food. I always have people start a food log and
yeah.
symptom log if we can see a pattern of what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's really tough to change people's kind of ways of doing things, and ways of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and we talked about this a lot as we were working actively together, that, the more significant the symptoms are, kind of the more intensive you need to dial in on these approaches, So I know that Gia had tried going gluten-free like before we started working together, and it hadn't really done much, and so we really dialed in on some really significant interventions, when we kind of were realizing that, it's the issues started in the gut. That's probably where the root was, and we said before, she's 16, like it was like such a
Yeah.
hard age to do this. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about just what like that first month, that first period was like, in terms of, making these transitions, and what you all went through, and how you were able to navigate it in a way that, you came out on the other side. But what was
Yeah.
that like? Yeah.
Yeah. I think she was ready. Okay.
Mm,
She was ready to do something more drastic,
yeah.
because so many things hadn't worked.
Yeah.
So I think she was willing to almost do anything at that
Yeah.
point. And that's the first step, right?
Mhm.
Make
That
make the decision
willingness.
to
Yeah.
try, but once we got into it, that was tough.
Yeah.
She, with her, changing your whole diet, you know, is a lot on your emotions, a lot on your mind, a lot on your
Yeah.
body. So she did go through a lot of, I'm starving, like I need to eat, like, but I'm like, but we need to stick to this because this is how the program works. And
Mhm.
it's a lot of back and forth, and it's a lot of tears, and it's a lot of sweat, and it's a lot of, going to the grocery store, and trying to prepare and think about, what to have in the house and what not to have in the house. And, you know, it took a long time for her to kind of manage that, and also kind of manage her emotions around the the way she now has to be.
Yeah.
You know, like, she's not the person she used to be.
Yeah.
So coming to grips with that is tough too.
Hmm.
Uh, and just saying, you know what, I'm going to stop fighting this, and I'm going to start working with it.
Yeah.
And so, those are the types of conversations that we would have.
Hmm.
Because just saying you can't eat that, this is what Jen said, well, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
But so, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of talk. It's a lot of trial and error. It's
Mhm.
a lot of just kind of grasping the fact that if you want to get better, this is something we should try.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean you have to do it for the rest of your life.
Mhm.
And it's going to be tough. And it was really, really tough. But,
Yeah.
she got through it, and she did a great job. And now she knows exactly what foods do what to her body,
Yeah.
which is amazing, because now she can really navigate, what she eats on a daily basis on
Yeah.
her own. So I've been able to kind of back off a little bit, and she can go out to dinner with her friends now. She can
Yeah.
pick and choose. She knows what she can eat. She knows what she can't eat. And
Hmm.
I don't know if that will last the rest of her life, but she's probably the healthiest one in the town right now.
Right. Right. Yeah. Isn't that funny how that flips?
Yeah.
What were the first signs of improvement that you started to see? Like, how did you see that progression happen?
So yeah, the first signs I saw were, and that she felt, were, her abdominal pain started to go down.
Hmm.
Her bloating started to go down. It wasn't after every single morsel of food.
Hmm.
Um, it was progressive, and it was slow, but all that matters is that we saw a positive change,
Yeah.
because you can do anything if you see the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
So you see those little changes, and you keep progressing. And that's what we kept talking about. Okay, well, you're feeling a little bit better today, and we're going to keep moving forward, and we're not going to look back.
Yeah.
And So the symptoms of, they were very slow,
Mhm.
it took a long time. But yeah, so her abdominal pain, her bloating,
Mhm.
her acid reflux, the neuropathy started to go away, which
Mhm.
was huge. When I saw the neurological symptoms start to disappear, I was dumbfounded. I was
Yeah.
like, this is just amazing. This is what Jen had said in the beginning, like, this is where we need to go, and this is what we need to do if we want to turn this around. And I wasn't going to let her stop. I
Yeah.
was, she didn't like me sometimes, and that was okay.
Yeah.
But she knew why I was doing it, and she knew the reasons behind it, and she knew that I loved her so much and I
Yeah.
cared about, I wasn't going to stop until she felt better. There was no
Mhm.
way to stop until she felt better. So, yeah, I mean, and then even over the past few months, now that we've got her, eating the right things, and she's, going to the chiropractor and getting her massage, and, doing her meditation,
Mhm.
and, all those positive things for herself. I feel like she now feels like she's in control, which is very important, right? So getting her and getting them to help make the decisions and stick with the decisions and seeing the progress is very empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're
Mhm.
always just telling them what to do, it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
You can what to do all day long,
Yeah.
but they're going to do it more if they feel like they're in control and they're making decisions for themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the other things as well. I mean, obviously nutrition has been a huge part of this, but complex conditions require complex solutions, right? And I
yeah,
think Gia is such a classic example of like the gut nervous system mind connection and how that plays out, right? Because yeah, she did the diet and she's done a great job with that and it's helped so much, but then, you also, Suzanne, kept pursuing this impingement, on the vagus nerve and how her poor alignment was possibly contributing to these symptoms too, and she's seen really good improvement going to this excellent chiropractor, it sounds
yeah,
like, and then cultivating the mindset, she has been, and it's so hard when you're in this age, but she's done
yeah,
great at like the meditation and really cultivating that positive mindset, and it's like this trifecta of like all of these things together that have
yeah.
really done good work.
That was a hard part. It wasn't just one
Yeah.
avenue. There was so many different, parts to it, and it's a puzzle, and we did one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And I feel like we almost have the puzzle done, and I'm going to put that glue on it, and I'm going to put it on
Yes.
my,
Put it away. Yeah.
one of those days, the last piece will go in,
Hmm.
and you just can't stop, and you just can't stop advocating for the people you're taking care of.
Yeah.
Very important.
Well, and to bring it full circle, like we started this out saying that, she went to a football game with friends
Yeah,
tonight instead of doing this. And like that is not something she would have been able to do when I first met her at all. So I'm so heartwarmed to hear that.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it'd be good to kind of get your perspective when you first met her to maybe the last time that you saw her,
Yeah.
because it's hard because I see her every day,
Hmm.
but there's people who haven't seen her in months and months and months, and now they're like, oh geez, Gia, she looks more bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, she's smiling, she's
Yeah.
worked, she's laughing. I mean, that hadn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, how long, but a long time.
Yeah.
And so for other people to see the transformation
Yeah.
is really great for me, because I see it, but it's hard when you're, in it
Yeah.
to see. Yeah.
No, I definitely saw similar changes, and especially the last time I saw her, I was really surprised because, and especially when we were, early on and we were meeting every week and really in the mud,
Yeah.
like it was just we'd meet and she'd be like, this is wrong and this is wrong and I'm miserable and I feel terrible and this is awful and I don't know what to eat, and
Yeah.
understandably, totally understandably, I had so much
Yeah.
empathy for her. But yeah,
Yeah.
by the last time I saw her, I mean, she was just like, I'm
I'm good.
fine. I
Yeah.
feel fine, and
Yeah.
I was I kind of astounded actually. I mean, considering, how severe her symptoms were, and it was, what I think maybe 7 months, like since the time we started working together from the last time that I saw her. And I asked her, on a scale of 0 to 10, where she was in terms of her goals for her symptoms. And she said a
Mm,
7.
yeah,
And I was kind of flabbergasted, honestly, because that's for 7 months of work. That's incredible,
yeah,
So, I mean, it's just a testament to how much she really dedicated herself to it and how much support you were able to offer her through it. I mean, yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah.
yeah. And that's why the support is key.
Hmm.
Very, very key, especially with, young, adolescents. And it's, if they don't have it, I mean, I don't know where she'd be if she didn't have me, if she didn't
Yeah.
have her sister, if she didn't have you.
Yeah.
I, I don't know where she would be. I mean, I think she'd be laying in a hospital bed somewhere,
Yeah.
so, it's a combination, and it takes a lot of work, and it's the work has been worth it.
Yeah.
It's been tough, and it's been traumatizing.
Yes.
She calls and I'm like, oh God, is
Right.
she gonna complain about something? And
Right.
she's like, hey mom, and I'm like, oh,
Wow.
thank God, like a PTSD,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what problem am I gonna need to fix now? Um, but now it's like those are so few and far between
Hmm.
that, I mean, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders like you wouldn't believe. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been amazing. It really has. And I hope, it will continue, because
Yes.
that's how it's going to go.
Yes.
Because we're not going backwards.
Yes. Great.
Yeah. But I mean, I wouldn't know any of this if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't know all of the backstory. I wouldn't have done so much research and really, delve deep into what was going on with her if
Yeah.
you didn't give me, all of the education that you have, and all of just the insight that you have has been just priceless.
Hmm.
Yes.
Well,
I
I
really,
I am over the moon at being able to see the progress that she's done, and I appreciate what you're saying about the information I was able to provide you guys, but you guys really took it and ran with it, and it shows,
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. I'm just so happy.
Well, I think that wraps up the story pretty well. I guess I'll just, give you space if there's any last things you want to share.
I just want everybody to watch out and see what's going on with their kids,
Hmm.
early on, pick up on things that are going on. If
Yeah.
if they're, complaining about something, then, start a log. Really try to figure out what these patterns could be. Because as you see with my daughter, and Jen sees with all of her clients, these things manifest into much worse things later on.
Yeah.
So let's catch these things early. Let's be educated, on what our kids are doing, what they're putting in their bodies, what's around them, and really just try to change, it, because it's going to just be so much worse for them later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
making it my mission too.
Yes. Yes, we need more warriors out there. So yeah, beautifully said. Thank you again so much, Suzanne, for
Yeah.
your time doing this.
Thank you. Anytime.